All right, well, let's get started. Marie, thanks for coming out. Thanks for covering this hearing today. We've been at this hearing for 8 hours today, asking about what's in the governor's budget to help ratepayers on their utility bills in the state. And the answer is absolutely nothing. There's nothing in there to help ratepayers. It's status quo. It's continue full speed ahead with the CLCPA. It is no explanation of why NYSERDA is sitting on over $2 billion of ratepayer dollars. That money should go back to the ratepayers. And now we learn, thanks to Marie here, just in the last few minutes, throughout the course of the day, the governor is now, soliciting comments on changes to the CLCPA. Did her people not know that today when they came in here to testify? Because there was no indication of any of that while they were testifying to us for 8 hours today. Absolutely nothing. I don't know what you guys want to add.
No, it is definitely an issue. It's being the ranker on energy, and I just want to thank Leader Rob Ortt for allowing us to be here today to explain what's happening right here in New York State. There's this gouging. We talk about affordability. There's no affordability. There's a reason why we have over 2.5 million residents in New York State that are exiting out of our state to go to Tennessee, all different states, Florida, Texas. And this is a perfect example of today of dysfunctional government at its worst. Our governor, there it is with the all-electric buildings. Let's just talk about that fast. All electrics, there she was. She suspended it for 2 years. That's not going to do anything. Everybody knows that that's not going to do anything. DV buses, all this. Just so everybody understands something, the CLCPA, we could talk about this governor that is sitting there and saying that we're going to go renewable energies with everything, with wind, solar, and battery storage. We all know that, guess what? Wind and solar, we can say it's okay. Battery storage is going to cost trillions of dollars, and it's not going to work. It's nothing but an experiment. And you know what? We proved a lot today. Yes, we're passionate. We're very upset. And I know my good friend over here, all our colleagues, we all had our points. There it is, Senator Steck. I'd love you to talk about your background and what happened with you today.
Well, I pointed out in the Navy, I was a nuclear engineer, so I have a background in energy production, distribution, and additionally, along with Senator Walczyk, we represent the North Country, where it gets a lot colder than it does on Long Island and down in the city. But people are screaming. If the governor wants a list of stuff that's wrong that she wants to revisit, all she has to do is go back and look at the debate when we adopted the CLCPA and all the Republican comments and questions that came out, that came from industry experts, that people that we talked to. The number one issue that people are screaming about in my district office is their electric bill, and it's self-inflicted. They have utility companies in surrounding states as well, but our costs are 50% higher than the rest of the country. So you got to look in the mirror and say, why is that? All right, we're all buying the same equipment, and we're using the same sources for energy, but it's 50% more expensive in New York State. That's because of bad energy policy. And, you can't snow the public anymore. We've been telling you what's going on. It's encouraging that the governor's starting to realize she needs to revisit this stuff, but our conference, can give her a list. Senator Walczyk.
There is growing bipartisan opposition to the direction that the governor has taken our energy plan in New York State. And finally, the voice of the people is being heard in these halls. Finally, the governor, we've seen just a crack in her energy plan, which we all knew would fail. But in an election year, she's finally saying the thing that we knew all along. This isn't a good plan. It's not feasible. The billions and billions and billions of dollars that they have collected from your energy bill to do all of their green energy stuff hasn't even translated to all of the projects and certainly has not been returned to the ratepayers. And as Senator O'Mara pointed out, they have produced nothing in this budget. I asked the PSC commissioner whether they had removed a single tax, fee, surcharge, anything from your energy bill that would make your bill more affordable. Not a single proposal in this budget. So I hope the governor listens to the people of the state of New York. Obviously, we've been a loud voice on these issues, but I hope she hears them and us. We'll keep speaking until she does.
Any questions?
Yeah, so one thing that's on everyone's energy bill, not everyone's, but most people's energy bills is local taxes. So I was wondering, have you all talked to your locally elected officials to see if they're willing to cut or eliminate local taxes on utility, delivery, and supply?
They can look at doing that and shift that cost to the rest of the property taxpayers. So I'm not sure that's a solution at this point in time.
I agree. I think that the state of New York, as a former local elected official, as I think most of us have been, the state of New York has done a great job of putting pressure and putting costs and extending them down to the local government level. And all they're going to do is pass it along to their taxpayer too. So I'm not interested in that shell game, although I wouldn't be surprised if we see that from the majority in the governor's office, is we'll just pass it. So it's not on our ledger, but it's still coming from the same pocketbook.
And you got to remember something, that pie, 72% goes to for our schools. And the rest, and you see the local government, they're struggling right now. So that's very, very difficult. So just remember that, how that pie works.
Just look, the way this whole thing has been set up in the CLCPA, Climate Action Council, everything is teed up for all the actions to be done by the Public Service Commission, by NYSERDA, that are raising people's bills. There's nothing that's coming before the legislature. The majority set this up so that they don't have their fingerprints on it, and we're seeing from them already. Well, it's not our fault, it's the Public Service Commission's fault, it's NYSERDA's fault. Well, they teed it up that way, and every one of those individuals is appointed by the governor and gets their marching orders from the governor and takes their actions on votes based on what the governor directs them to do.
And also today, just remember something, they're blaming the federal government. That's all they love to do today. That was mentioned so many times. The federal government, no. We're New York State. We're the ones, we have this budget, Governor. You need to make sure that our residents, guess what, are whole. And especially what's going on with the rates. Over $2 billion. $2 billion.
Almost 2.4, I think.
Okay, $2.4 billion. Why isn't that going back to the ratepayers that right now are struggling, that can't put food on the table? Governor, give that money back.
In addition to that 2.4 million that NYSERDA is sitting on, the utility companies collect these surcharges and hold them in their coffers until NYSERDA asks for it. NYSERDA can't answer questions. I've asked that for years. They didn't answer it again today. How much are the utilities holding? No answer. Roy Christian, how much are the utilities holding? Well, we don't know. We'll have to get back to you. So that's in addition to the 2.4 billion that they're sitting on that come out of ratepayers' pockets. And, you know, our ratepayers have had enough with the utilities that have gone up astronomically in just the last 2 years alone.
As the governor embarks on this push for additional nuclear energy, you all have raised concerns about what are the state mandated charges on the bill. That includes the subsidy that's being paid to upstate nuclear plants. Every ratepayer in the state is paying for that. That's actually one of the largest components of the renewable energy charge on people's bills. So as the governor embarks on this vast expansion of nuclear energy in the state, are you concerned about the impact of nuclear on people's bills?
I'd love to field that. So nuclear is very reliable, but it's also very expensive. And historically, it takes at least a dozen years to make its way through the licensing process. Now, I think that's in a fast-moving, favorable southern state. You add New York bureaucracy to that, unless something drastically changes, I don't see that being much less than 12 years. So we're talking about something, and I'm convincing you that I've got a solution to the problem, and don't worry about this little black box called nuclear. That's a big chunk of it. But today, they admitted it's going to be more than 10 years to get this done. Very expensive, but very reliable, and it is green. I'm a proponent of it, but no one wants it in their backyard. I've asked the ISO, where would you put a nuke plant? And you know what they say? In the Hudson Valley, right where the old nuke plant was. The people there don't want it, but it should be and it ought to be near the load. I mean, that's just the engineering of it. But when the politics meets the engineering in Albany, the politics is going to beat the engineering, and that, as an engineer, is disappointing.
And just give it, Indian Point, that was the worst thing that ever happened, that they shut down Indian Point. But let's talk about like thermal energy, very, very important. We could talk about that, with all different sources, retooling our existing power plants, carbon capture. We have combined cycle power plants like we need Caithness too. The Nessie pipeline was very, very, very important that is coming into Long Island, into New York State. Constitution, very important. You saw what we said. We made sure with the DEC, we made sure when we talked to the PSC and NYSERDA, we wanted to hold their hands to the fire to say, is this pipeline definitely coming into, the New York State? Very, very important, and I'm very concerned about it. So I'm hoping that the answer was yes, that it is coming, but it is a necessity that we have this pipeline come into New York State so we could go help out renewable energy. A combined cycle that is 50% carbon-free, by the way.
And on that note about pipelines and gas prices, I mean, obviously, New York State's electricity prices and energy prices generally are closely linked to natural gas prices. And as we see volatility and higher prices for that, people are going to see higher bills this winter. Do you see Constitution?
We're also going to have energy for heat.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Energy bills. But since Constitution, goes across the state and is mainly meant to unlock more fuel availability in the neighboring states rather than in New York, is that a good deal for New York? I mean, to have that giant pipeline across the state?
It's a necessity. It's life. And just to give a heads up, if we don't do anything, right now, all electric is not going to work. Our grid, just when we said, I asked the question also too, what are we doing with the $2.4 billion? Are we invested in infrastructure? Infrastructure is key. We need to put the infrastructure in forward so we can move into renewable energies. But we need other sources, green hydrogen, I had a green hydrogen tour. This conference, just so you know, we care about renewable energy. We do, totally. We care about the environment. But the governor didn't even know that we have tanker trucks, LNG tanker trucks, getting filled in Pennsylvania on our roadways, 7 pounds of CO2 a mile. And guess what? Need energy to thaw it so it could go pumped into the system, pumped back into the grid. And you know what? That's not what we're about. That's what's happening. That's why that Nessie pipeline is so important.
The New York State policies on Nessie and Constitution has held New England hostage on energy. They went to the extreme of bringing a Hydro-Quebec line down through New England. Just came online a couple of weeks ago, and they had to shut it off coming to New England on Sunday, a week after it started, because guess what? Quebec needs that power. Same thing's going to happen with our Champlain Hudson line that's coming online here in a month or so, that all ratepayers across the state are going to pay for, that all ratepayers in upstate New York are not going to get anything out of whatsoever. They're not even going to be able to put their renewable energy into that line. The decisions that have been being made by NYSERDA, the Public Service Commission, have just been wrong every step of the way.
Now, speaking of this past weekend and its impact on the infrastructure in the Northeast, my district, Senator Walzig District, the northern border with Canada, routinely among the coldest places in the lower 48. 24 degrees below zero when I was in Potsdam Saturday night. Messina Electric, who buys some of their energy from the Power Authority, they said that a year ago, last January, they were averaging $100 per megawatt hour. They said this January, they're ranging around $165 per megawatt hour, and today they were peaking at $1,000 per megawatt hour. 1,000 when the average last January was 100. All right, now it's cold and it's been very cold, but this is not unusual. The third week in January in the North Country is very cold, and you look at the forecast, it's not warming up in the next couple weeks. And what's frustrating is that a lot of us have been saying since the get-go, not because we're contrarians, not because we're here to fight, but because we were listening to the engineers, we were listening to the people that generate energy, that distribute energy, that the experts, the science. And the science and the engineering was saying that heading in this direction was going to be very, very expensive. And unfortunately, our collective constituents, ratepayers, taxpayers are paying for all of it. We're seeing it now. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is going to get worse. And I mean, I guess it's great that the governor's finally, better late than never, but I can't wait to get the phone calls for the next 2 months on what these electric bills are going to be, because they're going to be bad.
Compared to $1,000 a megawatt hour, things like offshore wind and nuclear start to sound cheap.
Something that sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, yes, Colin with New York Focus.
Oh, good. There you are.
Yes, that's me. There's been a lot of discussion today of return on equity, utility return on equity. I don't think the governor's put out any real proposals to change that, the way the PSC handles that. Is reining in utility profits something that you all would like to see the state do?
It's got to be looked at closely relative to where the market is, because we need people to invest. These are investor-owned utilities. So if that rate of return is not in a spot where people are going to make that investment, then we're not going to be able to do any of this build-out that the Green New Deal is calling for. So There's got to be a balance there, for sure. Where that sweet spot is, you know, it's something that we should be looking at, and I think we are looking at that right now.
Okay, guys, are we good? Don't want to keep you, you know, you guys
I just would ask one more. Yeah, I just don't think I've heard you all speak too much about data centers and them coming onto the grid in New York. It is a big part of the interconnection queue. Just curious, y'all's thoughts, if anything need to be done there, or?
All the industry of choice that this administration and the majorities of the legislature are pursuing are extremely high-load users, whether it's AI, data centers, what's the other one? Chip fab manufacturing. They're all big drains on it. And, you know, our regular manufacturers that are here, which are the base of our economy, you know, they're getting squeezed out. And we're seeing manufacturers leave this state on a weekly basis. We need them to be the base of our economy. But those that have multi-state operations are choosing to shutter New York and move to another state. We just had Gunlock Furniture Company in my district, 123-year-old company, been there forever. Just announced they're closing, 135 jobs in rural upstate New York. Irreplaceable. They're not going out of business, they're moving that production to other states.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And you like the stance?
What was your name?